right, if you've ever struggled with getting your team's buy-in when you're casting a vision, a new initiative, a new goal, or even getting them to implement and execute, this chapter we're going to review in the book would basically help you address that challenge. How to go about it and ensure that every time you put forth a new initiative, put forth a new goal, put forth a new direction for your team, they get to buy into it, and as well as you also have success in implementation. Welcome to the Leader Circle podcast, and my name is Oba, and we're on a book review series. We are reviewing the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And today we are on chapter 4, which is the fourth law of the book. I know I said it's going to be one law per day, but I've been behind schedule thanks to many priorities, work, and the likes. But we're going to go at an easy pace, no pressure. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the fourth law. And the fourth law basically is the law of navigation, right? And I'm going to talk about the two things that stand out to me. So the first thing that stands out is the law of navigation basically states that, I'm reading from the book again, so you don't quote me, you quote John C. Maxwell. It says, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. And the main idea that John C. Maxwell, the author of 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is putting forth is that leaders are supposed to chart the course. What that means is if you want your team to go from point A to point B in implementing anything, or you're going on a journey with your team, one of the most important things you need to do is you need to have gone the length and breadth of where you want them to go to. So it's the idea of you need to take them to a place that you have been. And what that basically doesn't mean, what that means. What that means is that you need to take your team somewhere you've been to. And been to doesn't basically mean that you must have implemented the vision before, but you must have gone through all of the intricacies and all of the elements of that initiative, that goal, that strategic priority, and this is basically doing the research work, doing the getting into things, looking into all of the elements that might be a stumbling block, what are the things that they might need along the way, what are the resources. So you're basically looking at every factor that is essential for that goal, that priority, that journey to be a success, and you're bringing that factor in at the beginning before you take them on the journey. And it makes sense to me because you're taking people somewhere they've not been to. You have seen the vision, but your job is to put the vision to them so that they can follow you on that journey. And most leaders struggle with that because you tell people about something that you want to do and you're most passionate about it, but the people aren't. And the people are learning about that vision and they might get interested, they might be hyped up about it, but you've not done the groundwork of ensuring that every element that would ensure that the journey, the goal, and when I say journey, think goal, think the goal, the priority, think the things that you want to achieve at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, everything that needs to happen for everything that needs to happen for that goal, that vision to be actualized. You didn't put that in place. You didn't find out what those things are. Basically, you're supposed to chart the course by ensuring that you know what is needed at every course. You know what is needed at every yard, every step of the way towards the goal, right? And that's basically the job of the leader. And that's what he means when he says that anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. And he basically spoke about the fact that you need to, first of all, do the groundwork. And the groundwork enables them to buy into the vision. So if you come and tell them something that you want to do, for example, let's say we're going somewhere, right? And you're taking them to a very difficult place, or maybe you're trying to achieve a 20% increase in X, right? And then they begin to ask you questions, right? And you can't answer the questions. It means that you haven't done the groundwork of figuring out how the thing will be done. And that's basically the goal of charting the course. The idea of charting the course is you looking at how everything will be done, coming up with your plan on how everything should be done, and then putting it forward to the team and letting them also ask the questions and letting them also, should I say, give input so that you can basically build a plan appropriately, right? So the idea is that every leader needs to go the length of the journey by planning, by research, by getting all of the things that are needed for it to be successful, and looking at all of the facts, all of the elements that are essential for the vision or for the goal or for the objective to be successful, right? And I think that totally makes sense. And I think, like I said earlier, you're taking people somewhere they've not been to before. Therefore, you need to also convince them. You need to give them sufficient elements of fact, elements of faith as well. Conviction. They must be assured and they must be convinced that this is possible. They must be convinced that this can happen. They must be convinced that we have all of the resources, we have all of the human resource and all of the capital and all of the essential elements that can make this success. And that's where your research comes in. What are the risks along the way? You've mapped out all of the risks along the way. You've mapped out how we're going to address all of the individual risks. And that just gives them a sense of confidence, a sense of trust, and it also increases your influence when you work with them. So I think that's the first thing. Now, the second thing he spoke about, which is something I'm going to read, he spoke about. Now, the second thing he spoke about within this is basically something I'm going to read. And then I'm going to read, he talked about 4 things. So he says, before good leaders take their people on a journey, they go through a process in order to give the trip the best chance of being a success. And the first one is, if you're going to be a navigator, you must draw on past experience. So what that means is basically looking back, looking to the past, looking at the things that happened in the past, and learning from failures, learning from successes, learning from the things that you are skilled at, learning from the things that you might have failed at in the past, learning from history. Right? Has this been done before? What does history say about the thing that you're about to do? So you might need to do a research. Maybe it's a market insights, a global research, a competitive analysis, something that just brings you to that point where you understand what has been happening before now. Right? So good navigators need to always draw from the past, right? And the past basically teaches you things that you need to apply in the present. Right? So it gives you true perspective, it increases your confidence, it clarifies the big picture, and it takes a good experience and it makes it a valuable experience. The next one is to examine the conditions before making commitments. So one of the things that people do when they are pitching a plan to their team, more often than not, is they often say things like, this is what we're going to do. And I think that shouldn't be how it should be done. I think that what you should first of all do is you need to stand neutral. And I think this is why some of us use the word I think. Be neutral to the idea, neutral to your plan, neutral to your idea, in a way that it allows for them to speak to it, right? So it means that don't fully commit until you've done all of the conditions, you researched all of the conditions that can make you successful. So it's to say that I have drawn from my experience, I've seen all of the things that I have learned. So what are the conditions that would make this goal successful? And I begin to map it out. So imagine, I think this week I went on a hike, right? One of the things that we needed to do before going on the hike is to ensure that we have all of the resources that we need to go on the hike. So you need to have water, you need to have good shoes, you need to wear the right outfit, you need to carry some additional gear, right? The idea is that you need to basically understand what are the conditions that must be met for this to actually be a success. And that's what the leader also needs to do. A navigator needs to figure out what are the conditions that need to be placed for this to be met. So don't be, like I said, be neutral to your idea. So when you present it, is to say that these are the conditions that need to be met. And then the team basically begins to think about what other conditions they might also want to add. So there's also the third one, which is navigators make sure their conclusions represent both fact and faith. So the idea is there are some people who they are very rational, and there are some persons who they thrive on what they believe and how they feel about the thing, and they're very passionate about it. There are those who need to do the numbers, who need to check the facts, who need to check the practicality of things. And as a navigator, you need to make sure there's a balance between both. It is to say that I am ensuring that I am not super positive in the belief, feeling, and passionate elements, and I abandon the facts. It's to say that, oh, I believe that tomorrow will be a great day, and you've not checked the weather. What does the fact say? So there's a sense that when you put your visions forward, relax, calm down, and begin to check what does the fact say, and then make sure there's a balance between your facts and your feelings, and your facts and your belief, and your facts and what you're intuitively passionate about. So there's that element, and I believe it's true, because some persons go in a direction because of how they think and how they feel about it, without doing all of the numbers, looking into the fact, looking into the possibility, looking into all of the risks, looking into all of the rational elements that should stand as a foundation for the different initiatives and the goals that people might want to achieve, right? And the last one, which is navigators listen to what others have to say. So it's to say that in as much as you're the leader, you're the manager, you're the one taking the people on a hike, it's also important that you listen to what they have to say. You don't know all things. You're not the one that has all knowledge. You don't have all perspectives. I remember one thing we used to do in one of the organizations I worked with is it's scale and perspective. It's to say that if I have an apple in front of me and one side is bitten or is eaten with worms and is on a decay and the other side looks good, if I turn the apple, the side that looks good to you, you look at the apple and say the apple is good. But if I now turn the bad side to you, look at the apple and you say it's bad. So it's a thing of perspective. What side are you looking for? I need to know that as a leader, you need to check the different perspectives from different people, because people are seeing things from different lenses and from different worldviews and from different experiences. The other side is scale, right? And this is, I think I also learned this last week. There's the difference between the balcony and the dance floor. I'll put the link in the description below for you to understand that. So there's a video that speaks about that. But the balcony basically gives you the scale. You can see from above. You can see what's going on. But when you're on the dance floor, all you can see is the person in front of you and your immediate environment. So if you're too close to the work, too close to the goal, too invested in it, you might not see at scale like the balcony. And it's also a thing of hierarchy in organizations. People see suits, people see things at a different level from people who are implementers and individual contributors. So there's a sense in which that you need to understand that there's scale. So you need to listen to everybody and hear their perspectives around it. So you might be seeing it at the height that they might not be seeing it at. And they are seeing it from a place of, I'm the one implementing it, I'm the one doing the job. Therefore, I know what I go through. I know the things that are happening on ground. Therefore, you need to listen to that. And there's also the sense of the experts in the room. You need to also consider who are the experts in the room, who are the people who have expert knowledge, right? Who are the people that can speak as consultants, who are the people that can also speak as people you bounce ideas off, like advisors. So yeah, so I believe that these are the 4 elements, that he put forth in the book for anybody who wants to chart the course for their team, right? And I think in conclusion is to say that this chapter is basically talking about visioning. How do you envision things for your team, and how do you put them forth for your team? And visioning doesn't just mean a golden idea with one good statement. I think a visioning basically has a lot of work to do with what are the criteria, what are the conditions, what are the elements that will make it a success. And therefore, every leader, every manager needs to do that deep work to ensure that they look into what they are presenting to the team, that enables the team to buy into the idea, and also enables people to think about the idea even in the place of, should I say, execution and implementation, right? So it's collaborative, it's co-created, and also it is from a place of empathy, right? And a leader, and the leader also considers the people in the the envisioning process as well. So yeah, it's to say that you as a leader need to also navigate, you need to chart the course, you need to go from point A to point B and look into it for your team to be able to see what you are saying. And also for you to see that what you're talking about is practical. All right, thank you for chapter 4, which is the law of navigation. I'll catch you in the next one, which is chapter 5, the law of addition. All right, see you soon. Thank you. Bye.